John Kennedy inspired a number of us, and one of his great quotes was to cherish our children's future. And Ralph Waldo Emerson, the great transcendentalist, always referred to the Democratic Party as the party of hope. When I think about the hope that the future will bring, and when I think about cherishing the future that we will need and are entitled to in November of 2008, when I close my eyes and envision the person that I want in the White House, in the Oval Office, making the decisions that will touch our domestic agenda, our family agenda, and our international agenda, when I look at the person who I want negotiating in a troubled world, the picture to me becomes crystal clear. I want someone who can step into that office, lead us to hope, lead us to a point where we cherish our future, and lead us to the change that a simple, good, and decent man can bring. My candidate, and I hope you'll listen to him attentively, my friend, Senator Joe Biden of Delaware.
Thank you very much. Thank you all very, very much. You're very kind. Thank you. Thank you. It's a delight to be here with you today. I appreciate the opportunity, and I must tell you, I value what all of you advocates are doing, and I value all of you in this room. I particularly value Teddy because his father still runs my life in the United States Senate. By the way, the person that should and could and is able to speak for all of us in terms of our aspirations is your dad. He is by far and away, I'm not being solicitous, the single most persuasive, the single most persistent, and the single most effective senator that I have served with, and I've been there for 35 years. And folks, I have a nice speech here that all of you are welcome to a copy of. And what I'd very much like to do, I thought about it coming up on the plane. I flew up from Philly this morning, and I thought about it on the way up. As that old joke goes, all of you in this room have forgotten more about the subject matter than most of us in Washington will learn. And so what I'd like to do is sort of give you an outline of how I approach the subject of dealing with Americans with disability and the concerns and the problems and the opportunities. If I'm not mistaken, it says equality, opportunity, access. I think that all translates for me, so you understand where I come from, for a single word: dignity. It's about dignity. Dignity is about opportunity. Dignity is about access. Dignity is about enforcement of the basic fundamental values that we say we so cherish as a nation. I guess I approach most of, and by the way, I am fully cognizant of the fact that all of you in this room who are providers as well as those of you with disabilities, every one of you has interest beyond the subject matter of this morning's conference. I know you're all equally as concerned and equally as involved and engaged in matters relating to foreign policy and larger domestic issues as well. And so in the question and answer period, I'd be delighted to try to respond to any questions you have. My focusing on the subject matter today is in no way should be read as my assuming that that's the only thing that occupies your attention and your concerns. Let me say to you that I kind of approach things in a fairly basic way. I have a bad or good, depending on your perspective, reputation of being fairly straightforward, of telling you what I think, what I value, what I care about, and why I care about it. Because, you know, folks, I think we're beyond the point where posturing and telling you what you want to hear as opposed to what you need to know is in vogue. The politics of the day, I think, have changed. At least I hope they have changed. If they have not, then I'll continue to work for you as a United States Senator and that will be it. But if they've changed as much as I think they have changed, then I may have an opportunity to use what this rostrum in the hands of a president becomes, a pulpit, a bully pulpit. Ladies and gentlemen, the vast power of the presidency resides not in the legislation he or she suggests or the executive orders he or she initiates. The vast power of the presidency lies in reminding, being the keeper of the flame, reminding the American public of what the core fundamental values we say not only in our Constitution, but in our everyday discussions with one another in coffee shops, we say we care about. My dad used to have an expression. My dad passed away several years ago. My mom, who's 90 years old and still lives with me in my home and runs the show, reminds me of his expression. He used to say, "Don't tell me what you value. Show me your budget, and I will tell you what you value." Don't tell me what you value. Show me your budget, and I will tell you what you value. And ladies and gentlemen, a lot of people these days in American politics, particularly the other team, are talking about family values and core values and basic values, religious values, etc. When the truth of the matter is that every American knows in his or her gut, their gut, what America is about. Americans believe that they are a pretty fair and decent group of people. Americans believe that it's important to help other people. Americans understand that we're all in this together. But we've spent the last couple decades trying to convince Americans that that commonality is really a line of division. We're cast in terms of whether and how often we go to church, what our religious views are, whether or not we live in a red state or a blue state, whether or not our ideology is the definition of our value set. But in truth, we're the only nation in the world that in fact has laid out in its preamble to its Constitution that the basic writ that we've signed on to of basic human rights is not derived from our Constitution, but derived from something higher, something bigger, something more significant. And we've gotten timid about talking about it. But I think the President, in using this bully pulpit in the future, has to remind people of the commonality and the source of all the things you're fighting for. It says, "We hold these truths self-evident, that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator." No other constitution says that. Endowed by their Creator. It's not about religion. It's about spirituality. It's about the essence of what it is to be a human being. It's about a soul. It's not about a body. It's not about a physical capability. It's about personhood. And too often in our society, those of us in power, particularly this president, remain silent when there's somehow an equation made between the worth and capacity and potential of someone wheelchair bound or in some other way seriously limited physically and their self-worth. And so, folks, it seems to me that, you know that old expression, tell me where you sit and I'll tell you where you stand. Well, one of the things we have to reassert, and we have to do it affirmatively, we have to holler about it. We have to remind people about it. And that is that our basic, speak for myself, my North Star is about dignity, the dignity of every single man and woman in this country. The notion, instead of going through all the bills I've sponsored or co-sponsored, there's not a single thing I think we disagree on substantively from a legislative standpoint. That's all about legislative speak. But it's much more than the legislative speak. It's about what do we really care about? Who are we as a nation? Because I would argue how we deal with the issues before this conference today define who we are and measure more accurately whether or not we are keeping up with what we say we aspire to than any other set of issues that the nation faces.